Hey everyone, Paul Richmond here. I am going to tell you the story of my coming out today, which might be a surprise to some of you who know me to imagine that I was ever in. I realize that some of you might have come to this video just because of the title and you don't know anything about me. I'm an artist, and I'm married, I have a wonderful husband, live in California, and a lot of my artwork deals with different issues that I've faced throughout my life, and so a lot of it specifically has to do with LGBT issues and themes, and I've done a lot of work within the community in various ways. So it's really important to me, and I think very valuable for people to tell their stories. There's still a lot of people out there who are struggling and feel like they're alone, so anything we can do to help, we should do. I was raised Catholic and went to Catholic school. I was a good altar boy. I have a sister who's younger than me, and two wonderful parents who were so supportive. I mean, they drove me across town for art lessons. They gave me everything I could possibly want. I really wanted to make them happy. I was a very good little boy. I was a people pleaser my whole life. And I think maybe part of that was because on some level, I knew that there was this other thing that kind of made me different, something that might be disappointing to them or make me kind of like a failure in their eyes, because my family, as much as they love me and my sister, they were very conservative. We had the Rush Limbaugh bumper sticker on our car when I was growing up. That was just how I was raised, what I was exposed to. And so both at home and at school, the only real impression that I was ever given of homosexuality was that it was bad. Religion class taught me that it was a sin and you go to hell. I went to art school, art college, and I stayed in the closet the whole time. I think on some level, I knew that what was going on, but I wasn't willing to admit it. And to me, that's always like the most fascinating part of these coming out stories. I was totally attracted to men, and specifically to guys that I knew, that I was friends with, that I saw every day. At the same time, I could never bring myself to even consider the possibility that might mean that I was gay. All through college, I stayed in the closet as much as possible, even though I did do some experimenting here and there. But I always kind of just wrote that off to, we were drinking, or we were just hanging out and, messing around or something. I had girlfriends who were wonderful. We connected in so many ways, probably because we had too much in common. What ultimately ended up happening when I graduated, I started a mural painting business with a good friend of mine from school named Melissa. Melissa and I just really connected. You spend a lot of time with somebody, you just start to open up and tell them things. And so one day after work, I walked over to the bookstore that was right by my apartment. I picked up a book of prize-winning short stories, and I thought, oh, this could be interesting. So I took that home and flipped to a story randomly and just started reading it that night. This is the actual book, the O. Henry Prize Stories from 2002. I was 22 then. And the story that I picked was called Scordatura. Hope I pronounced that right. By Mark Ray Lewis. And I read it that night and something clicked. The story is about a gay man, and it's written in a very unusual perspective. I actually don't know the term for it. It's not first person or third person. Instead of saying he or, I, every time they talked about the main character, the author would say you. So it was like, you went to the store, you walked down the street, you did this, you did that. And I'm kind of like, well, yeah, I did. I feel that way. That is me. I just related so much with the character. And it was a pretty sad story. The details of the story were not, didn't match my life. But just the emotion of it and what he was going through, I realized in that instant, oh, I'm gay. It was so scary. I'm getting goosebumps now even thinking about it. I'm 36 years old now. I was 22 when this happened, but it's such a big moment, And I knew that I didn't want to keep it a secret. So the next morning, I always picked up Melissa, and then we went to wherever we were painting. So she got in the car, and I was like, Melissa, I've got something to tell you. and she kind of looked nervous. I think she knew what was coming. I mean, you know, she was like, I'm not ready, don't tell me yet. So we like drove to the site where we were doing the mural and started working. She was on one side of the room and I was on the other, and she's like, okay, you can tell me. So I was like, well, Melissa, I'm gay. And it was scary to say it, not because I thought Melissa was homophobic or that she would have any issue with it, but because in order to hide it, I had built up so many lies about who I was and what I liked, you know, in order to be, or to try to be convincing. As a heterosexual person, you have to have crushes, you have to talk about, you know, various things, and you have to hide certain aspects of what you're really thinking and feeling. And so, you know, I didn't think that she would have a problem with the fact that I was gay, but I felt bad because I, you know, really liked her, and I felt like I had been so deceptive, that I had just been, you know, hiding so much from her, that I hadn't been an honest friend. She was just so wonderful about it all. I mean, she said that, you know, she wasn't really surprised, but she was, you know, totally like fine with it, like totally supportive. She was happy for me. It was like it was like a celebration, like it should be for everybody. And I know that not everyone's that lucky. I have a lot of friends who have, you know, very, very sad stories about it not going well the first person that they told, but I picked a good one. I was really lucky. And it felt so good to get that off my chest and to see that she wasn't like upset at me or anything, like she didn't think I was a bad person for lying to her, that I was like, I want to tell everybody now, I want to tell more people. We drove to Cleveland that night from Columbus, so it was like 2.5 hours, so that we could tell our other friend, Marcy, and we had like, you know, drinks and laughs, and I don't know, it was exactly just like the response that I would want. So then I was like, okay, well now I'm gay, so what do? I guess I have to go do like gay things. There wasn't Grindr or anything like that. I mean, there were maybe like a few little chat rooms here and there, but like I didn't know what to do. I didn't really even know any gay people. It took me a little while, but I finally made my way to the local, one of the gay bars that I had heard about in town called the Eagle. And it was so fun. It happened to be like a Madonna CD release party that was happening the night that I went. Big surprise. And I loved it. I loved like being around all these people who, you know, like I didn't know any other guys who liked Madonna when I was growing up. Maybe some guys would like talk about how hot she was, but like that was never why I was interested. There's this like community of people who are just like me. It really does take a while, or it did for me, to kind of figure out what my place was in that community, because it's so diverse. I mean, there's not just one way to be gay or to be whatever it is that you are. You have to still, you know, find out who you are. So I ended up, I feel like, just kind of, it's almost like just trying on outfits. Like, you know, suddenly there's this whole world of opportunities, and what do I want to do? I started going to all these different places and meeting people and exploring. I met a lot of guys. I hooked up with a lot of guys. I had a lot of fun, and I do not regret any of it. People are made to feel so weird about sexuality today, and growing up Catholic, I certainly had a lot of those hang-ups, and it even took me a little while after I came out to kind of get past all of that. You know, the first few times that I was with a man, I had a lot of guilt feelings that came up out of nowhere. Like, you know, I was so excited and so happy to finally be, you know, authentic, but there's still just, I just had to work through this guilt, these layers of guilt and suppression that had built up over the years, and it wasn't easy. I don't think it's easy for anybody, but it was a really good time. It was exciting. It was like an adventure. I went for about a year, really just exploring what it meant to be like a gay 22-year-old, 23-year-old probably by the time I decided that I was ready to tell my family. It's not like it was super smooth sailing. It's a process when you have, you know, people who don't really understand something and they're scared. I think the first instinct was, what can we do to like fix this or change it, or can you go to a therapist or somebody who can like make it better? And fortunately, like I knew enough by that point to be able to say, no, that's not how it works. And so I was able to kind of educate them about it a little bit and just say, like, this isn't something that I chose, you know, this is who I am, and this is who I've always been. I wasn't that articulate about it, but, you know, that was the gist of what I think probably managed to say. I give both of my parents so much credit, and this is the purpose of this video, is not for me to say, oh, woe is me, like I had to struggle through this difficult thing because my parents, you know, made it hard, because that wasn't the case at all. I can totally understand where they were coming from. Like, you know, I don't agree with it, but they had a very limited understanding of the issue, and it was coming from a place of being scared and concerned and, you know, really like wanting the best for me, because in their mind, being gay meant you were the outcast of society, that you couldn't have a normal, happy life. You know, and I think there are also all these other things going through their mind, like, you know, if you're alone, you're super promiscuous, you're, which, you know, you're probably like gonna be gay bashed, or just all these different things, you know, everything that happens in every blockbuster Hollywood movie from the early 2000s to gay people. God, I hope they never saw Brokeback Mountain, Jesus. So telling them was really like the last big hurdle. They were willing to reevaluate things and learn and look at it from my perspective. And we've come so far. I mean, I'm married now. I've been with my husband, we've been together for 11 years. Actually, our anniversary of our first date was last week. And my parents totally love and accept him, and my sister. You know, if I go over to visit my parents and Dennis isn't with me, especially my dad is like, where is he? Because, you know, he can talk to Dennis about tools and things that I have no interest in at all. I can't even give you an example. Football, I don't know. I mean, when I was growing up, if we went somewhere and there was like a gay waiter or a gay, you know, person, my dad would do anything at all costs to avoid being around them, because I think it was so like homophobic. When I look back now at my childhood and think about, you know, where I was, you know, as a teenager compared to today, you know, living in California with my husband, 2 dogs, have a wonderful life where I get to paint and do book covers and be creative all the time, have wonderful friends, get to talk with all of you guys every week, and have so many other friends out there in the world. I could never have dreamed that it would be this great. And I hope the same for all of you, no matter what it is that you're struggling with. I believe everybody has to come out of some kind of closet, maybe more than one in their lifetime. You know, it's not always necessarily about being gay, but everybody has to go through a process of figuring out who they are. As long as you're alive, that's always ongoing, and you're always growing and learning and figuring more things out about yourself, and sometimes those things contradict where you were a year or 2 before, and that's okay. We're all just trying to figure this out, and, you know, it's not always easy. Thank you guys so much for watching this super long story. I hope that it maybe helped in some way, and I would love to hear from you and about your own, if you've had to come out yourself in some way or another. Tell me about it, because these conversations are so valuable. You know, everybody feels so alone, I think, at the time that it's happening, and then you realize that there's so many people out there going through very similar things. So leave me some comments and let me know what you're thinking, what you've experienced. And also be sure to go down there and click on my little face in the circle down below to subscribe to my channel, because I'm going to be doing lots more videos, and I would love for you guys to come hang out with me again. So I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.